Welcome to the 2017 Team Tribal DVD, and we're here at the, at times, prolific mallard lake at the Bluebell complex in Middle England. And we're all settled in, and it's been fishing quite tricky. It's quite warm, 20 degrees, but I've got a lovely shelf to my left, and I'm wading out and I see some bits of cloudy water, and I've just dropped a little QC rig and about 20 10 millers, and about an hour later it's absolutely roared off. Nearly feel the bleeding rod off the rest. So we weren't expecting a bite this quick, but we're going to take you through loads of tactics. It's a prolific day ticket water, very busy, sees a lot of anglers and a lot of different tactics. So we're going to talk rigs, we're going to talk tackle, and hopefully we're going to get a bit more of this on the camera. But I am buzzing. We're so excited for this. It's all we've talked about for months. We're really excited about this DVD because we know there's some really old gnarly mirrors in here, plenty of 20s, plenty of 30s, typical of probably the lakes that most of you guys fish. And this thing is trying to get in the reeds, so I'm going to concentrate a bit more, but it took me totally by surprise, if I'm honest. I didn't expect him to move back in this. It's only literally above my knees, but it's warm and they're getting in on this shelf. Come on, baby. Yes! And that is how we opened the DVD for 2017. He's a minter. Not huge, but man, to get the first one after an hour, buzzing, absolutely buzzing with this. Come on. Oh, look at him. He's only small, went wading, probably 15, 16 pound, but he's dark, he's scaly, and he is the first one of the DVD for me. And the first one is always the hardest. And the little spot, it's quite soft out there to the left-hand side. But you can really see, or you can feel even, where the hard spots are. So the fish have been in. Obviously people must do this all the time in chest waders, just wander down, handful of bait. You've got to watch out for the swans, or else they're on you like a flash. And I just found a little hard bit of gravel, handful of bait, and dropped my ever faithful matching complex T pop-up on the top. Quite a long rig, which I kind of guess I'm known for. But I'm really into this match the hatch now. I used to be massively into fluoro fishing, but since I've started using a matching pop-up to the bait that I'm feeding, I seem to catch more. But he is mega. He will never know how happy he has made me feel. All the excitement, all the build-up, all the anticipation, and we're here, we're doing it, and this is the first one. So mega fish. Absolutely buzzing with this. Oh, there we go. Mega. When they look like that, size really doesn't matter, does it? But he's made me very happy. I've not even had a cup of tea yet, so been in a few hours, kettle on, and refresh, get that rig back out. Go on. What is it? What is it? 32.4. That'll do for me.
Well, what can I say? After being really disappointed after losing that first bite, 20 minutes later, gets an absolute screaming take, and here we go, 32.4 4 ounces of real nice chunky bluebell mirror. Absolutely buzzing, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm seriously buzzing. What an absolute stunner. So just after the first night as well, so I wonder what the rest of the week's gonna play out like.
So mixed emotions really. We're about 12 hours in, and we've done the night, and I had that fish really quickly from the left hand spot, waded it out, dropped it in, a few little 10 millers, and it was away, and I thought we've cracked it. And there's some prominent features. I've got so much water here to go at that I thought I got it nailed down. There's a really shallow shelf that you can wade out up to about just about below your chest waders, so it's about 5.5 foot ish. And it drops down to 18 foot, coming slowly up, and it's rock hard at the bottom of that shelf. And I thought that's the spot for the night. It's quite warm at the minute. The fish are going to be up on the shelf in the day, down there at night. And strangely, all the way up the shelf is weedy. No matter where you go, whether it's 16 coming right the way up to about 6 foot where it levels off and starts coming on the really shallow area, it's weedy. So I thought that was nailed down. I had one liner in the night, and then this morning I've had a kind of meltdown. I'm still keeping my left-hand spot because it's puckered, it's rock hard, and I'm kind of, at the minute, I've got 3 different presentations out to it. It isn't really like me. I had no bites at night off the deeper area, and because it's warm, it was very apparent that I think you need to be up on that shelf. But if you come up on the shelf, you get a bit of weed, and then you come in really quite close in, only probably 25 yards from here, and it's swan territory. That's the big issue here at the minute. We've got swans. And if you put anything under 4.5 foot, they're going to pick you up. So you've got to fish a single or a tiny bit of bait, you know. So in typical Macmillan fashion, the meltdown, I reel them all in and just stood back from the swim and think, right, how am I going to fish it? So what I've got now, I've got a little 3.5 foot zig. I've got a solid bag just out of swan depth, and I've kind of got my spot that I had the bite from. And I think that's a lot of confusion with these day ticket waters. People just think it's nailed down, they're going to be at the bottom of that shelf. Well, it's 20 degrees. And I feel when the water temperature's up like it is now, if they're in 3, 4, 5, 6 foot, picking little bits up in the edge, you know, we've had a few bites now in the shallow water. Why should they go back down and swim down that shelf into 16, 18 foot of water at night to feed? I don't think they do. So I think I'm just going to have another rethink later. I'm going to try and get a couple of bites in the day because the sun's going to make an appearance, and I think that's my time. I think that's my time on that shallow area. And as it goes rigs, this isn't like me at all. You know, I normally stick to one rig. I've been using the QC rig almost exclusively for about 12 months, or the Ronnie rig, a spinner rig, whichever you want to call it. A little trinket I do is rather than have it straight up, I just kink the shrink tube over so I've got that pop up even lower. So on these little odd spots that I found, it's not sitting up even 1.5 inches. It's cocked over a bit. I move the hook bead slightly further back so it really sits like a claw, and I'm just uber confident in that rig. But I'm not going to put them out tonight in the deeper water. I'm going to really try and plumb up or even fish solid bags. The weed's probably, you know, 4 to 6 inches deep on the top of that shelf, but I need to be in that shallow water. So a solid bag in that is going to be absolutely perfect. Jazz it up with a bit of hemp oil, a few spods, and I think, you know, I think that's my best chance. But you know, I think it's important to just pick up on these little signs. You know, why would these fish go down in deeper water when it's 20 odd degrees? I don't think they would. You know, maybe a zig. You know, you can imagine them coming off the shallow area and then following that route out into the lake. You know, probably 6, 7 foot on the bottom. So that could be something I'm going to aim for tonight. Little zigs at night, and fingers crossed we'll get a few more bites to report for you. So we're in again. I must learn to get into my chest waders a bit more delicately. It's only the second time I've used these TX2s, and as you can see from the arc, It's my standard 12 foot 2 3/4, and this beautiful thing of excellence is a 10,000 X Aero bait runner, and it's perfectly suited to this. I'm literally fishing 10 yards out in 2 foot of water. You don't need big heavy rods. All you're going to do is pull out the fish. It takes a savage, and you want something that's really going to absorb a lot of the fight. And this setup is so well balanced, and it's such a joy to play fish on that you don't want it to go in the net. It's not massive, but all the fish we've had so far have been absolute corkers. When the pressure's on, if it's £8 or £8, it don't matter to me. I'm getting a bite, so that's the buzz. All right, come on now. Let's have no more. Well worth mentioning. Swap my spools over to the Aero Fluoro. Again, pinned right down. And there's not as much stretch in fluorocarbon. So again, a softer rod just gives you that little bit more confidence. You're not going to pull up. It took a lot for me to change from my velocities. I used them for so many years and had so many fish, big uns and all, that I'm always a bit dubious, but these TX2s are just the perfect replacement for them. Come on. Always a scaly one. Yes! Oh, I love carp fishing. Nice, look at that. Scaly, not massive, mid-double, 15, 16 pound. Shake their heads like crazy fish this size. So again, them little TX2s, the softer test curves, little bait runner, it's perfect. It takes all the absorption and it just makes it a joy to catch them on. Don't need 3 3/4 when you're fishing 10 yards out, do you? Absolutely belting that. We're slipping back. All this commotion ain't good for my spot, you know. Where I landed it from was where I caught it from. So we best let the water uncloud and drop that rig back in. I'll catch some more, eh? Lovely.
One of Mallard's finest, just under £24 this one. Another beautiful common. This was part of a double take. Put the other fish back, it was a bit smaller than this. So we decided to put that one back. Again, this was on the right hand side of the swim, down by the reeds. That's 3 takes off of there this morning. So hopefully with this wind pushing in like it is, we've got a lot of fish down here, hopefully we'll have a few more.
That's the spot, is it, mate?
Yeah, that's the one, mate. That's it.
You've had a few?
Yeah, I've had a couple down on the right, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, wind's blowing this way though, so fish are down here.
It looks bang on for you,
yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, you took me by surprise, actually, because I was going to come talk to you about line.
Right.
But you've got mono.
Yeah.
Go on.
I've been using mono for spotting for a couple of years now. I find it much easier than braid. It's just, I think it flies better. It is a Technia mono, it's only got 12% stretch, so winding in is not a problem.
Right.
I just find it much easier to use. Got fed up with braid all the time.
Do you find it floats all right though for retrieving, or does it?
Yeah, no, it's fine, mate.
It's no problem?
Yeah, I find it absolutely perfect for it.
Because I use that, the Kuriki, in like a £27, but I have like a mono leader of something like £40, £50, depending on circumstances. But Yeah, that's interesting. Right,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I'm stopping you. But I've come around for a 5-minute chat, but it looks like you're going to have a take in a minute. So go on, you crack on.
Yeah, no, I use it mainly because if I was using braid in this wind, it'd be going all over the place, and that's why I use, you know.
Well, that is a good point, because I am down to your left, and that one thing you generally think it's a spod or the spom actually taking it, but most of the time it's actually the braid which is actually looping up.
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
think so. Yeah.
That's it. Go on then, mate. You crack on. You put a few more out. It's interesting. I'm finding I'm using the fluoro as well because I'm fishing quite short.
Yeah, that's not fluoro.
Oh, okay, go on, yeah.
It's tribal carp. I've been using tribal carp for a couple of years now. It's great line.
Right.
The abrasive resistance is unreal, super supple for casting, but the great thing about it actually sinks like a brick. Now,
Right.
I say I'm not using fluorocarbon. I actually use fluorocarbon for most of my fishing. I use it as a leader. So I use 30 foot of fluorocarbon, then I know that first 30 foot's pinned down. I like to use this line. Again, it will sink really well. I do tend to fish it up in the water and not right on the lake bed. I do like the fishing for liners, you know, just to see if there's any fish in between where I'm fishing in mid.
So I can see your bobbins are quite tight there. So how far are you're at a good distance then, are you, on that right-hand one?
I know on the right-hand run, I'm just about 20 yards down the bank.
So you'll fish that line because you're fishing for liners and you want the fish to tell you where they are.
Yeah.
You see, rightly or wrongly, I'll do it the other way, whereas I'm actually using fluorocarbon all the way through. See how you're using the tribal carp. I'll use tribal carp as a mono, or technium as a mono, but that's generally for distance fishing. Wherever I can get away with it, I'll try and use a fluorocarbon because I generally, on the waters I fish, don't fish too far out, and I do like the properties of it sort of hugging the bottom. And at the end of the day, I just need knot strength and I need reliability, and you know our fluorocarbon's got it in abundance. So, but it is interesting that you've gone with the mono. It really is, and especially with you fishing it that tight, because I'm actually fishing it quite slack. So, I mean, would you say there's any benefit for me to fish it as a slack line, or you know, do you generally find keeping the line out the way a real bonus, or do you generally find you're catching more fish like that? Because you fish like Wellington Country Pot. Now that is a really pressured syndicate and has been for many years with the best anglers in the country fishing it. And would you fish exactly the same as that with the mono?
Exactly the same with the mono. My thing with fluorocarbon is fluorocarbon is made of plastic. It doesn't absorb any water. That's why it sinks. Mono will absorb water.
Right.
Knot strength goes when it's submerged in water. But I don't like fishing fluorocarbon if you're using fluorocarbon so it sits on the lake bed, and I'm fishing at 100 yards, I don't want that to happen. Especially going over weed. There's a bit of weed in Welly these days.
Right,
and I don't want to be going over the weed beds with a fluorocarbon sinking into the weed. If I get a take, I want to be directly into the fish. I don't want to have to lift all that line up off the bottom.
That's interesting, yeah. You know, now the lake I'm fishing weed, but I will do away with the fluorocarbon at that point because, as I say, I will fish something tighter. It's interesting, and it's a point I'll actually try and pick up as is I might try and fish. Everybody fishes fluorocarbon, generally fishes it slack because that's what you have to do with fluorocarbon. Whereas I might try it doing what you're doing, but a contrast of them both. So, I mean, you're fishing Welly. I mean, that's arguably one of the most pressured syndicates in the country. Do you fish exactly the same as that, tighter lines with the mono in that sort of venue?
Yeah, definitely. If I'm fishing Welly, a lot of the swims you're fishing at distance, between 25 and 30 wraps. So I'm actually I still want to fish tight. I still wouldn't want to use a fluorocarbon, even if I could get it at that distance, because I wouldn't want the fluorocarbon on the lake bed. No. I get much better bite presentation with using how I do, and it's just
more
going
liners,
back to
I suppose, as well.
more liners.
See, where my syndicate, that's very weedy, and I'll do away with the fluorocarbon at that point because I don't want a slack line over weed. Because as you've said, bite indication once you start getting on weed is pretty much non-existent anyway. So literally, last couple of foot, just pinned down so I know. So as soon as the bite picks it up, we're away. Yeah,
that's it.
Mate, it's brilliant. Well, look, I'm going to let you get on with that. Well done on your fish. And no doubt I'll speak to you in a minute. I'll come and net another one for you.
Thanks, mate.
Right, it's nice common, 2712 from Mallard. Fish was caught down on me right hand side, right near some reeds that I seen fish there last night. Me and Marv was looking, seen loads of fish in there, so I decided to put one down there this morning. I lost one earlier and just managed to get this one out. Nice common, 2712. Had no issues with the snags down there. Line done well. Tribal carp, £15. And a £27.12 mallard carp.
Okay, this is the first fish of the trip. A lovely looking common. Didn't have anything the first night. Had a lovely tree line to fish against, some nice deep water, just dropping off from the tree line, going from 3 foot down to about 10 foot of water. Put one of the rods in about 3 foot and the other one at the bottom of the shelf in about 10, and dropped the third rod just round to the left in about 10 feet of water as well. Didn't have anything the first night. I was getting a bit worried. There's quite a few fish being caught down the other end of the lake, and I was just starting to wonder if I was in the wrong area. But looking at the weather forecast, the wind was looking like it was going to turn around and start coming towards me. So I didn't want to move from where I was. I was quite happy with the swim, and I had a feeling fish might start to move down the other end of the lake. So basically I stayed where I was, stuck to my guns, and on the second night had a screamer on the middle rod, which was in the 3 foot water spot, and had this lovely common on the end of it. So well pleased with that first fish of the trip. And hopefully today the wind has turned around and it is starting to blow this way now, so hoping for a few more fish.
After an uneventful 24 hours up the top end of the lake in the deeper water, a couple of hours ago I decided to move down to the shallower water, where I've been rewarded within a couple of hours of this nice scraper 20 linear on a hermit rig. Hopefully it's a start of a few more to come. Let's see.
Well, after a very, very frustrating morning, watching the legend that is Dave Fooage hauling just up the bank from me, and Tong's had a few and he's next door, so you can imagine the grief I've been having. A quick change of tactics, a quick change of rig, and this, oh my word. Oh, very, very scaly one is in the net. Oh, I needed that. I needed that. It's not big, but it is very, very welcome. Oh, it's mint. It's an absolute mint. Right, let's get him out and have a good look at him. Well, after an incredibly frustrating day, as I mentioned before, I finally got off the mark with my first ever bluebell carp. It's not one of the monsters without any stretch of the imagination what bluebell is famous for, but look at that. What an absolutely beautiful, beautiful fish. Caught literally under my rod tips. They've been swimming up and down these margins all day, very finicky, but finally nailed one. A little change of tactics after talking to Fudgy, and you know, he's the man, isn't he? Quick change of tactics, 5 minutes later, first one in the net. So it's a warm day, let's get a beautiful fish back in the water. Thank you, mate.
My life was always about pursuing my dreams and living beyond expectations of others. So every day, I wake up happy to be where I am. One of my greatest abilities is to see obstacles as opportunities to learn and grow. I also understand that in order to succeed, I must do all I can to set an example of perseverance and determination. There might be a long and tough journey in front of me. But I'm definitely not slowing down.
Oh, and there we go. A fat little football of a common, just over 28 pound. What an absolute brilliant result.
I'm itching to get a bigger fish because Smithy's sneaked in on my action and he's nicked a 27 pound common or 28 pound common off the margin. But we have seen some better fish. Oh God, this fluorocarbon pinging off its fins, man. I reset all the rods a couple of hours ago and then I had a tench, of all things. But this does feel like a better fish.
Stop.
What?
No, just this one.
Oh. Better fish this one. We've been talking about you. So
well, my ears were burning.
I said I'm desperate to get a bigger one because Smithy the dog has sneaked a 27 pound common off my spot.
You get taken to court for that in some countries.
I can't see it because Smithy's in the way and I'm quite glad about that. That's better. Oh yeah, that's got some shoulders. It's a nice common that is, I think. Oh, that's a good fish that, I think. As much as I love you, Smithy, I'm desperate for that fish to soak you. It's close. There's such a shallow little area, these fish. Fucking absolutely mental when they played on it. I ain't rushing it because I think it's a better one. Ooh. It's definitely a better one. Smithy just turned around and nodded, so that means it's a better fish. See, this just sums up these TX2s. They're so soft. And when they're battling like this, as much as the fluoro's pinging off its fins. Get it in that net, Smithy. Yes! It's a better fish. Oh, yes. He's just done a facial expression and I don't know whether to believe him or not. I know that's a better fish because I could see its shoulders.
In my arm was going.
Right. 34. It was 10 or 12, but it was bigger than Smithy's, so that's all I care about. But that is the biggest fish of the day, and what a first day we've had here at Bluebell. Loads of banter, loads of really nice fish, mirrors, commons. Marv's had a really dark 32 pounder, and then that is just the perfect way to end the perfect day. What a carp that is, isn't it? That is what carp fishing is all about.
So after Ian's perfect end to day one, we've kicked off day two with a bit of a bang as well. And for a change, because I'll say it before Ian doesn't, Mine is bigger than yours. What do you got to say to that? After the digger you give me?
Well, there isn't very many times in my life that I haven't got a lot to say, but yours is an absolute cracker. All that scale pattern is mega. But mine is a cleaner fish, but then again, I'm more professional, so mine is going to be a slightly better standard of carp. But no, what a result, what a way to start. 28 for Smithy, just over 26 for me. And what a great stamp of fish we're catching. I think we'll both agree the last few bites we've had have been better fish, haven't they? Definitely. So there's definitely some bigger fish that are moving up the lake now. So maybe some of them big females are gathering with the males now for the annual ritual. But what a start, what a great way to start day 2.
Let's get them back, eh?
Let's get them back.
Right, let's give it a go then. So I've been told this is going to be Marv Cam. So here's the first little part of Marv Cam. We're 2 days into our session. There's quite a lot of people catching. I've had 7 bites, landed 5, the biggest being 32.8, which I'm well chuffed with. I've also had an absolute stunning 24.5 mirror. I mean, it's a real peach of a fish. How's about that for a stunning fish then? 24 pound, 8 ounces, Bluebell mallard carp. Absolute, the scales on that are absolutely huge. Real chunky fish as well. Well chuffed. I'm really enjoying the session, to be fair. Just, it's my type of fishing. Lovely reed beds that I can just plonk the rigs on just at the end of the reed beds. They seem to be coming really close in, but it is getting that time of year where they are going to start thinking about coming in a bit closer. I think in another 3 weeks' time they'll probably will be in full spawning mode and they will have finished and go back about the business. But they definitely spend a lot of time rooting around in the margins and having a good grub around, which is good for us because we're picking them up just on the back of those reed beds. Fishing wise, I'm just using little multi-rigs. I did start off with a pool rig and I had my first take I lost, and then I landed the 30, but it was literally just on the edge of the lip, so I wasn't happy with that. I've gone back to multi-rigs and all the rest of it are called it being an inch in the mouth. Apart, I did lose another, but I think it hit a bony part in the mouth. So, but no, on the whole, really good. I have used a fair bit of bait, but I think the swans are having a fair bit because they're a bit of a pest on here, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. There's quite a lot of them, and as soon as you go out in the waders to lower your rig, they're on you. I've already had one wrestle, and I got told off because I did catch it on Marv Cam. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Marv Cam so far. I am going to put the camera near the 2 rods that are on the bar just to see if I can get a bit of a take on camera. But tomorrow my mission is to catch a fish while live on camera. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's it for that. Ciao for now.
Okay, no better time to talk about your rod and reel combo than when you're in full battle curve. This one absolutely melted off. Now, my rod and reel combo, and has been since their release, the rod, first of all, is the TX9. And my preference in that, because it pretty much covers all aspects of my fishing, because I never quite know, oh, sorry, is this fish is trying to make the weed. Oh, come back, come back. Yeah, is the 13-foot intensity, which is a 3 3/4 pound test curve rod, but it's a very progressive rod, and it's perfect for all manner of my fishing. I twin that with the XTD. Oh, that's a nice fish. I twin that with the XTD for no other reason than the clutch and the drag system are perfect. You know, the clutch itself is the typical old Shimano, ultra reliable, lasts forever, totally bomb proof. But when you couple that with the new drag system, the instant drag, which is one full turn from locked up solid to a nice free spool. Now I don't use locked up very often and I don't use free spool very often, but as you can see that it's just perfect. You know, it's absolutely perfect. It does exactly what it says on the tin, you know. So I rarely use, so it, you know, as you can see now the fish is turned off, just 1, 2 turns and it's back under control again. You know, takes a bit more line. Whoa, it's motoring now. Oof. But if you need to get it under control, just another couple of turns and there we go, we're back in business. So 1 full turn at most, or you know, as I say, most of my fishing, just half a turn will do it. And for someone like me who's a bit of an old school carper, which is used to always playing it on backwind because you had the ultimate in control, I don't honestly believe now when you've got clutches and drag systems like this, you even need backwind on the reel, but that's just my opinion. Shimano, we're known for our drag systems. That's what we do best. Whenever you think of reels, you think of Shimano as far as I'm concerned, and this fish is just about ready for the net. And again, it's a lovely, lovely scaly merit carp. Oh, and there we go. So yeah, that's my rod choice. TX9, as I say, it does everything for me, from fishing a little flick down the margins we're doing here, up to 140 yards, which is my maximum sort of casting distance. Mick, James, these have put these rods over 200 yards. They're a formidable casting tool. But when you couple them with something like the XTD, which in my eyes, I can't understand anybody using anything other than something like the XTD. It's just the perfect combo as far as I'm concerned. It's one I'll use for a long, long time, I'm sure. So let's get him out, have a good look at him, and see if we can catch another one, eh? And there he is, my prize, another classic Bluebell, stunningly beautiful mirror carp. That left hand rod away again. The stake again was so savage, it's untrue, but it's absolutely brilliant to watch. So there he is, let's get him back and get that rod out as soon as possible, but another one tamed on the classic TX9 and XTD combo. Absolutely love it. Yes, get him back. One of the new items from the Fish Care range is the Shimano Tribal pop-up mat. It's actually my personal favourite because it is really lightweight and super compact, and for someone like myself who's a mobile angler, it is ideal for chucking on the barret or actually just carrying. It comes complete with its own carry case and 2 retaining pegs, and you do need the retaining pegs because the mat is that light it will just simply get blown away. So let's open the mat up. In the back you have the retaining part of the mat, which will stop the fish actually coming out of it. So as the name suggests, it simply just pops up. On the reverse of the mat you have the kneeling platform, stop your knees getting dirty in case you're in a muddy swim just as I am today, and you simply just pop the padded part of the mat in, and it is as simple as that. Just as easy to pack away, perfect for any duration of session, but as I say, I personally like it for being such a light and a compact mat. So that's the pop-up mat, perfect for any situation.
Okay, so after having a small one yesterday further down the bank in the bay, I decided to come back down again this morning. I had a rod halfway down the reeds, and then I noticed there was some fish jumping out at the end of the reeds, so I decided to wind in and throw a rig down at the end. Just put some cell over the top, and just as my husband came around the corner and said, "What did you put it there for?" before he'd even sat down, the rod rattled off, which resulted in fish of a lifetime, my PB common, £40 8. Beautiful fish.
So I come down last night, had a little play around with the marker rod and found a weed bed just on the edge of the ledge where I've presented hermit rigs with little balanced wafters in them, and seems to be doing the damage at the minute. I've got another common in the net there. I had another 2, but I've put them back. So all of the fish have been stunning like this, Mirror. So let's get this common out.
Well, the day ticket assassin, he's moved, and this is your biggest one of the moves so far, James, isn't it? How big's it go?
£26, spot on.
Mega fish, aren't they, in here?
Yeah, nice, beautiful.
Golden, mallard, magic. And I think it's very important to say that James is super meticulous about the spots that he finds with the marker. There's quite a lot of weed on top of the shelf, so all he's doing, he's found the edge of the weed and he's dropping the rigs right on there. And that's the spot that keeps doing them, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, tight to the weed beds seems to be producing the quicker bites.
Much bait? Have you used much bait on there? Just fish for a bite?
Little solid bags, little hermit rigs.
Sounds a bit edgy, that does for you, James. Right, let's get him back and we'll go into more detail about how James approaches these day ticket waters, especially Farlows, Horseshoe, Linear, Mallard. Everywhere he goes, he's super consistent, and that, I think, is down to his meticulousness with the marker rod and how he fades and how he baits. And it works for you, mate, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
you are our day ticket expert, aren't you? That's your new title, the day ticket expert, but you are super consistent. So we'll get him back and we'll look at how James goes and tackles these day ticket waters. So I think it's worth starting off with kit. So you're using a designated marker rod,
yeah,
and a designated marker reel. So firstly, the marker rod is quite a stiff rod, and why do you use a stiff rod?
Just so you can feel everything in that tip.
Yeah, yeah.
The donks, as you can see, you're getting good donk out there at the minute.
So. Bit more transfer.
Yeah, transfer, yeah, especially through the braid.
Yeah, yeah, braid, and you always use braid, you never use mono?
No, never use mono, never. I always use a fixed shock leader so I can get away without wearing a finger stool at these short ranges.
Yeah, yeah, it's worth it. And let's look at the reel. It's a designated, it's an RLX spod reel.
3 lead clip, 3 line clips.
Yeah, 3 line clips, so again, 3 spots, you can find 3 spots at once, can't you?
Yeah, and just wrap them out.
And what have you found out in front? So you've moved down, we've already seen that you've, in typical James fashion, you've blitzed it already. Pretty consistent, mate, you know. So what have you found and why have you put the rigs there?
Well, I found a weed bed. At the back of the bar, there's a weed bed that runs out front, which goes up into about 6-7 foot of water, which are quite hard clay out there. I've been presenting as tight as I can to the reed beds, hoping that the fish are using that as like a motorway to come up and down. Obviously up to you and Smither.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you cut your lines out, you just cut them off.
Yeah,
you cut them off and keep all the fish in front of you. And what about bait? So, do you, I mean, you're not one for, you won't stove a whole load of them, will you?
No,
you fish for a bite,
I've started off with little solid bags in the weed, just little mouthfuls, just enough to get a bite.
Yeah, yeah. And any bait on top?
Nah, not really, no.
Really?
Nah, nothing, just solid bags.
You're just that confident in the spot you found, you know that they're going to be trolling that weed, aren't you?
Just a mouthful of food for them, and that's all. I don't want to feed them, I just want to catch them.
Yeah, and like you say, that it's an obvious feature, this big shelf. It's so deep at the bottom of the shelf, and people always probably target that, but you've kind of sussed that these fish in the warm weather are moving up in the shallows.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you've not gone for that. You've gone for the unobvious spot, haven't you?
Yeah.
Up on the shelf, you know, shallow water.
Yeah, shallow water.
And I think the obvious spots get hammered, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Gravel is a no-go, any.
So you've specifically looked for the harder sand and clay and perhaps a bit of silt. You stay away from the gravel, do you?
Close to weed beds. That's where the fish live. That's where you want to be.
It's loads of people go for the gravel, don't they? And I think
clean, yeah.
It's presentation. I think they're paranoid about presentation with the rigs, so they go for the gravel, don't they?
Fish on top of weed, longer rigs. The fish are going to be there. That's where
like
they live. That's where the food is.
Little solid bags. You can put a solid bag on a clear spot or in weed, can't you?
Yeah. It doesn't matter where it lands now.
Yeah, it's a good little tip, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fish the unobvious spots. And obviously for James, he's moved in and he's bagged a really lovely common straight away and a few nice mirrors. And I think he's not going to stop catching, which I'm not too happy about because he's cutting me off. But yeah, he's super consistent. So I think the main thing to take from that is don't fish the obvious spots. Go for the spots that people probably overlook, closer in, near the weed, stay away from the gravel, and you too could be Mr. Consistent like James.
There we are, 26 pound common, first fish of the afternoon for me. This is about the same time last night when it started happening for me. So we'll see whether we can winkle a few more out this evening.
Okay, so I was at the other end of the lake, pretty much out of where the wind was blowing. I did have one fish on the second night, but it's been completely dead since then. And the other end of the lake where the wind was blowing into, the boys were smashing it and there had plenty of fish coming out. So one of the guys come around and said, you need to get yourself down there, there's fish coming out. And that's where you need to be. So I did actually make the move in the end. I've come down here, I put a bit of bait out last night. Nothing happened last night. There was plenty of fish about because I could see them and I could hear them. Pulled them in this morning, just tried a bit closer in as there was a few fish moving around. Nothing happened. Moving back out again about an hour later and sat down 10 minutes later and one of them ripped off and this is him now. So this is kind of my first fish of the move. So the move has been worthwhile. I'm hoping we're going to have a nice fish on it and it feels all right. He's just coming in now. Here he comes. In the net. Yeah, so there we go. There's the result of the move from yesterday, the killer move, dragging all the gear down the other end of the lake. One of the guys come around, said to me, all the fish are down the other end of the lake, they're catching down there, you need to get yourself down there. So I did that last night, and here we are, nothing through the night. Just flicked them out again this morning, where I saw a few fish moving around, and within about 10 minutes, the middle rod's gone screaming off, and this was the fella on the other end of it. So pleased with that, made a move, caught a fish. Still early in the mornings, hopefully we're going to get a few more today, so well happy.
I think it's fair to say we're getting battered by the swans, and you've got to sort of sneak the bait in.
Yeah,
it's
you
great.
can see you in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make a difference. I'm slightly deeper than you.
Yeah.
I'm just over my knees.
Yeah.
But yours is.
Yeah. Mine isn't quite 18 inches. And
there is an innuendo comment there somewhere.
Yeah.
But we won't go there. But we're getting the smaller males, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Up on this shelf. But we don't mind as long as we're catching you.
Oh, not at all. No, we'll settle like that all day long because a lot of the other lake is quiet, and you know it's quite a good point made actually, because up there where Dave and Marv are, they're certainly having the better stamp of fish, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that one Marv out there is incredible. Oh man, that is out.
I think James summed it up that these randy little males,
yeah,
they're almost waiting for the females to turn up here, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because I think it is close to spawning.
You sort of get the feeling they're not really interested in feeding, aren't they? But it's sort of how that rig is, you know, laying, and they're just sort of almost having a snap at it, really, aren't they?
Yeah, they just come in. I mean, I don't put anything bright. I'm just putting a matching complex 2 pop up there.
Yeah.
Because I think anything bright would.
Yeah.
If the swan swims over it, would sort of dull up. Hook bait.
Oh, mad. Well done, brother.
Cheers, partner. He's still proper tense. I must admit, this isn't a style of fishing I've done for a while, just loading him in the edge, catching him on a little handful of bait. But that's the way to get him at the minute. it seems that deeper water just isn't the one. They're right up on this shelf, and I think I've nailed my bite times down, which is all in the day, so I'll get a bit of sleep at night, which is good. So we'll get him back and get that rig back on that spot.
Well, that was never going to be anything other than the pick of the bunch, was it?
Right, so we're back on Marvcam. It's about, I don't know, 4:45 in the morning. As you can see, light's not very good. I did try getting you a take on camera, but just completely, I was getting liners like crazy, and I should have set the camera up, but I just didn't have time, and I was really tired. I hadn't slept very well. I hadn't slept very well at all this trip, to be fair. So yeah, anyway, I've got an absolute minter of a mirror again. I don't know what it is with these pretty mirrors. This must be following me around to this session, but I've got an absolute stunner in return. I'm just waiting for light to get a bit better, and I'll get the lads down. We'll do a few shots and a bit of film on that. Came from closing rod again, as you can see, just a single rod behind me. Going over to the tip of the reeds just there. Absolute screamer. I mean, I'm come running down, socks are soaking. I don't know, I've had to do my hair with a bit of lake water to make myself look a bit fresh for you. Anyway, set camera up. There's reeds knocking just as I was dropping rig back out, so let's see how we get on.
Right, as you can see, it seems to have all kicked off this morning. Got a lovely 2112 in the retainer. This one ripped off. Weeded me up for a short period, but the TX5 12 foot 3 1/4 and the XTD 5500 more than able to deal with it. An absolute joy to play fish on, but also enough backbone for them tricky situations. It's like a nice common. Well, say a nice common. They're all nice in here, no matter what size. There we go. Lovely stuff. Let's get it sorted. Right, here's the angry common. You just saw me playing. Put up a really good scrap. Weeded me up for about 10 minutes in the thick weed bed just this side of the bar. All the gear well up to the job though. 12-pound tribal carp loaded onto the Ultegra XTD 5500.
and then fishing with the TX5 12 foot 3 1/4, no problem at all. Absolute stunning fish. Right, character, let's get him back. So let's take a look at the stunning mirror I had this morning from the close-in spot. 2112, absolute corking fish, just from the tip of the reeds. TX5s really helped me out with the, it was just kiting down to the left, so I needed to put a bit of side strain on. More than capable of getting me out of trouble, to be honest. Absolute stunner. Let's get him back.
It's quite apt that I walk into your swim as you're unleashing hell on one of our rods.
Yeah.
What was that? That was quite a sizable chuck. It was probably a flick for you, to be honest, Mike, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's quite long range, that.
Not too specific as Mike. Quite long range, could be anything from 180 to 220. So we're going to talk about the range of rods from Shimano for 2017. So we're going to talk about the TX9, the TX5, and the first model is the TX2, which Mike has just
this is
guessed.
the TX2, yeah.
Now, what model is that, Mike?
This is the 13 foot 3 1/2, the intensity model.
Right. So when you say intensity, explain a bit more about
the intensity. It means it's like a 3 to 5 ounce rod.
So it's a
It's
weight
a long
rated
ranged rod, yeah.
Right,
basically.
right. So that's
it's a 13
from 3
foot
to
3
5
1/2,
ounce.
yeah. You see, I mean, they're not an out and out poker, you know what I mean? They're a nice fishing rod. I mean, I even chuck them down the margins.
Really?
Yeah.
So the tip is quite soft, so even though it's a powerful rod, you're not going to pull out a fish.
No,
You're
I've
fishing down the
never
edge.
pulled out of a fish and thought it's because I've used too stiff a rod.
Right, right.
They're quite forgiving in that. I mean, all the intensity range in all the rods will chuck 200 yards, and it's not just by one person. I've done it, James has done it, Carl's done it, and that's all properly measured as well.
Measured over a field.
Yeah. So they're just a very good long range rod. They'll chuck bags and leads all day long.
And for a rod around £100,
oh God, yeah, I don't think there's anything to touch it, to be honest.
really. Yeah. And what about other test curves in the range?
Well, they start at the 9 foot stalker rod, which I've actually caught sharks on. So I don't think you need to worry about catching carp. All the way through to this, they've got the 12 foot 2 3/4, all the way through. There is a rod for everybody.
Really?
In the whole range, yeah. Depending where you're fishing, you can pick a rod that's perfect for you.
So that's the TX2.
Yep.
Let's have a look at the TX5 next.
The next in the range is the TX5, and I know you've been using these, so
yeah, I love them. It's the next model up in the range from the TX2, and I think cosmetically, it's very, very similar. It's got 50mm ringing to 16mm anti-wrap tip. I really like the wing grip, which is a totally different concept, and we're sort of stepping outside the box with it a bit, really. But it gives me quite a bit of comfort when I'm holding it. It's quite a firm grip.
It is comfortable, isn't it?
And I think that it aids in cosmetics. It's quite tarty, so it kind of suits me down to the ground. That's a 3 1/4.
Yeah.
And again, we've twinned this up with a 5500 black XTD. So it's a perfect, for me, it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
Even a lot of the waters I fish, I don't even use something that heavy. I'm more of a 2 3/4 bait runner man, but this is lovely for me up to about 120 yards, which.
This is like a rod take anywhere, isn't it? 3 1/4.
It's probably your average setup for the guy that's on a day ticket like it at 3 1/4.
If you were going to use one rod, you'd probably pick the 12 foot 3 1/4 to just pick out the.
Yeah, I think if you went to any busy complex in the country, I think the majority of rods would be around the 3 1/4 test curve, wouldn't they?
You can chuck a fairway with them, and you can do a lot with them, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the things for me is it's a factory produced rod, but it's got very much got like a custom build feel to it. It's got very sort of aesthetically pleasing red whippings, and I know that doesn't matter to you because you're more of a spit and sawdust man than me, but I like to look good. When I'm not catching anything, I've got to look good. It's got to be level and it's got to look nice. So for me, I love them. Absolutely love the TX5s.
Yeah, they do look pretty sexy, to be honest.
That's the first time I've ever used that word in your life.
Only because you put it in the head before.
Thanks, Mike. Right, let's have a look at that TX9. So this is where I get to fire a load of questions about you, because this is one of your own
this is
personal fishing rods, isn't it? So this is a TX9 13-foot intensity with, and I'm going to say the word sexy again.
The black mag.
The black mag. So it's your setup. This is your time to shine with this, because you know everything about the whole setup here. So fire away. So why do you use these rods and reels, Mike?
I use these because I can fish literally anywhere I want to fish. They'll chuck as far as I've ever needed to. They're just a lovely rod to use. They cast wherever you need to fish. I use them down the margins. I just use them everywhere, to be honest. And
cosmetically, you like the look, you like the ring, because the ringing's slightly different on these, on the TX9s, isn't it, on the intensity?
And you've got the 40mm K guides to start with, which isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I love them.
So, what's your opinion on 40s and 50s for distance? Is it line diameters? Is it getting the line off the reel quicker? Because a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion about that, isn't there?
When you're using free line and below, I'd found it very, very little difference.
With a 40 and a 50?
Yeah, it's only when you step up to the 035, 037, 038 lines that the 50s actually make a difference. But for long range fishing, I don't like to drop below 12-pound line. These cast as far as I've ever needed to. And I just think you get a better feel through the rod because the rings are lighter, the smaller than that.
I guess it balances the whole.
I think it just balances everything better.
Yes. Now, what about the reel? Because the reel is another personal favourite of yours.
Well, they're the Rolls Royce, aren't they?
They are the Rolls Royce, yeah. And why do you think they aid you with those extra distances?
Well, everything. The slow oscillation, the line lay on it. It just peels off.
Effortless.
Yeah, and they're so smooth.
And I suppose for a guy like you, if you're fishing at 180, 190 with a rig, if it's 10 yards further than the next guy,
it makes a big difference.
For you, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does, yeah. And you just can't get any better than them.
That's good enough for me. So that's Mike's perfect setup, and that is just a quick overview of a few of the rods from the TX range for Shimano 2017.
My first fish of the session, on the cell that I nicked off Amanda. So I'll try and catch a few more.
Well, what a difference 24 hours makes. My first 24 hours, I was blanking. I was having Ian catching to my left, Fudgy catching to my right, and as I say, I was blanking. 24 hours on and 26 takes later, this is fish number 24. And what a beautiful, beautiful common carp. Look at the colour of it, it's absolutely insane. At just over 28 pounds, and what is hopefully the continuation of a crazy, crazy 2 hours. I've had 11 bites in the last 2 hours, and I just cannot get the rods in quick enough, so I'm going to get this stunning one back and see if we can catch a few more. Thank you, my mate.
Well, quite a frustrating day. As you can probably tell by the light, it's early evening when we had a flurry of action the other day, so oh my grief, they do hang on here at Mallard. So I put the rods out probably about 12. I had about 4 or 5 straight away. Carnage, absolute carnage. And they went dead for a couple of hours. And then I had another 4 or 5 a couple of hours ago. And Smithy has had a few better fish. So I've swung my rods. So I've got 2 on the spot that's been doing the bulk of my bites. And what I did notice is I had one out the edge just to the left over a bit of frenzied hemp and corn, and I got the bite within about 20 seconds. So I'm thinking, is the hemp keeping them a bit more interested than just the 10mm complex T? So I've re-walked them out, all 3, with that mix. Bit of particles, still some 10mm complex T, but It's interesting, it's a contrasting approach, because I know Smithy is he's putting some 15 millers out, I think, with a throwing stick and casting his rigs, so he's got a tighter swim than me. Whereas I'm wading out, lowering, and it seems that both approaches are working. And I think it's just pot luck what you get. I've had one 20-pounder today, or in this afternoon's flurry, and the rest have been all sort of upper double mirrors and a few commons. And Smithy's had some good fish. So I think you've just got to wait your turn. You could quite easily just catch these lovely upper doubles all day. Which, let's be honest, there's worse ways to spend your afternoon, isn't there? But we're having loads now, loads of fish. I can't begin to tell you how much they hang on. But you instantly know. Well, earlier actually, I had an upper double mirror, and it was fighting really, really doggedly. We thought it was bigger. But if you get certainly something 22 plus, mid-20s, you know instantly they're heavier. Right, this one's ready. It's another lovely scaly mirror. Getting that net in this lovely evening sunshine. Ah.
Lovely start to day 3. I've had this one in open water.
I've had this one down in the bay where I've been stalking the last couple of days. The reeds are still moving around down there, so I know there's more in there to come. But unfortunately, I have to leave at 11:30 this morning.
So I'm going to sneak in behind her and hopefully catch a few of them scaly ones like that.
Okay, so the last 3 days on Mallard Lake here at Bluebell have been fantastic for me. It's a lovely venue, day ticket venue. I've never fished here before, and as I say, I've had a great 3 days. So I started by setting up in a swim, and in the first 24 hours there was nothing going on. So further down to my right there's a lovely reed bed that I'd been having a look at every now and again, having a walk down, see what I could see. The reeds were moving, you could see fish swimming about. So on the second day I decided to wind a couple of rods in and go and sit down, do a bit of stalking down there in the bay. So I just placed a small PVA bag out near the reeds, just laid the rod down on the ground and sat back and waited, and then within a couple of hours I had a lovely common. So nothing happened for the rest of the day, so I moved back to my other swim for the night. Again, nothing through the night at all. So the next morning I decided to move back down to the bay. I put a rig out halfway down the reeds behind me. As I was sat down watching, I saw 5 or 6 fish roll towards the end of the reeds. So I wound in and put the rig over towards the end of the reeds, put the rod down on the ground. Before I'd even sat down, I had a bite. I picked the rod up. It felt like a heavy fish. I managed to get it in after a couple of minutes, and it was a fantastic fish and a PB for me. So I got the rods back out, and then later that evening I caught an absolutely stunning scaly mirror. So I've only got a couple more hours of this session left before I have to go home, but it's been an absolutely fantastic session so far.
Here we go, start another day. beautiful mirror from Bluebell, like they all are, cracking fish. Right hand rod again, small bit of bait every time I put the rig out, and it seems to be paying off. Just noticed there's still plenty of fish out there to catch. So let's see if we can get some more. Right, I'm having a great time down here on Mallard on the Bluebell complex. I've had a few fish. I've had 9-10 fish now over the last few days. I'm putting a lot of success down to the actual rig I'm using. I'm using the so-called Ronnie rig or swimmer rig or whatever you want to call it these days. It's been around for a long, long time in many different guises and called many different names. I'm doing it slightly a little bit different. Most people which use this rig actually use it with either a supple braid, a coated braid, or even fluorocarbon as a boom. I'm actually using it with 2–2.5 inches of lead core. Now to me, rig mechanics are really, really important. We've all seen loads of underwater filming where we've seen fish sucking blow baits, get away with it, not getting any indication at all. So to me, by using the lead core, what's happening is the fish are sucking the bait in. It's very difficult to eject it when the lead core is stiff. I'm keeping all the lead inside the lead core. That way the lead core doesn't bend when the fish goes to blow it out. You'll also notice that I'm actually using quite a lot of putty really for a 12mm boilie. Now the reason for this is because when the fish sucks and blows the bait for a nanosecond, nothing happens. And this is going to drop down into the fish's mouth and it just makes it more anti-eject to the fish. I've not dropped a fish yet. I'm sure I've converted, you know, a lot of pickups into runs. And it will be, you know, interesting to see what happens in the future, but I certainly will be carrying on using this. Bait and approach is working now, little and often. Seems to be going really well, so we'll see if we can get a few more off of that spot.
Right, so we've moved on to Kingfisher from Mallard. We managed to get a few fish, taking all different size mixers. Baits is using the 9-foot 3-pound STC stoker rod, so it's perfect for a multitude of uses. Originally we were just free lining a bit of bread. We've had to change because the fish moved out, so we put a little bubble on, put a proper flow truck link on, little fake mixer, and as you can see he's into one. He's teamed that up with the DL6000 bait runner, which is perfect for it really, because you don't want a big bulky reel, you just want something nice and lightweight to match it with the 9-foot. He's got 10-pound tribal carp. You might think it's a bit light, but it balances up with the flow to set up, and you want something that can do every job really, so looks a decent fish as well, to be honest. It's been a bit of a team effort. We've got Youngie at the back tying up links, Batesy casting, me firing mixers, all three of us are having a go. This rod I've actually used for 2 years. Yes, Batesy. We're in. Lovely comment, Mr. Bates. Well done. Cheers, Younger. Yeah, nice one, Younger.
Here we are, a beautiful 27-pound common, taken off the top with the 9-foot STC 3-pound stalker rod. It was initially fishing with the bread bomb. We didn't have no luck, so we set up a floater setup and we managed to get this beauty going with mixers. It's getting a bit warm, so I'm going to get this baby back and try and get another one.
Well, after Simon bagged the mid-20 on an STC stalker rod today, I couldn't resist but have a go. And me being as jammy as I am, I managed to winkle out a 34.5 stunning Bluebell Kingfisher like common carp. I couldn't have done it with the help of these two. Marv, my little helper.
Sherpa.
Sherpa.
To Sherpa.
Yeah.
To be fair, it was Marv's turn and he jumped straight in and didn't give Marv a chance to pick up the rod.
But I am a gentleman.
But Marv, that's the kind of guy Marv is.
Weak.
Let him carry on.
Weak is what he is, weak.
I was bullied.
But yeah, we're all happy you caught it.
Yeah,
Cheers,
happy
lads.
days, we're all chuffed.
Yeah, it makes it more special with yous having it.
We had one tying rigs, we had one running around grabbing mixers, getting the mats ready. It was a proper full-on team effort.
It was a bit carnage.
We bonded in the lake as well, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we're bonded
in the lake.
We're bonded. Right, let's get it back.
Well done, lad.
Cheers, lads.
I was obviously right about the evening spell. We've just put an absolutely amazing mid to upper double mirror back. Thinking, right, get my schedule together, got me time for a bit of food. Bit round, middle rod's ripped off. Absolute mayhem. And it tore off and it felt really small, but now it's suddenly not feeling so small. Hence why I'm playing it a bit gingerly. They're obviously not spooky when you go out there, because these have been out half an hour, 2 bites in half an hour, but you may just nudge the little shoal off, but I think that's why you get the quick bites on places like Mallard, because they move back in and investigate, because obviously when we're getting through the walk, we're clouding it all up. And the curious creatures, Carl, very inquisitive. I can't make my mind up about this fish, and that is putting me on edge. As you probably heard, another one crash there right on the spot where the other rod is. I think it's a common. No, I think it's deceived me again. They're like supersonic, these fish. Right, he's about ready. Another one bites the dust. Man, I'm hungry. I'm going to have some tea before I put these rods out. I shouldn't moan, because when it's -5 in the winter and we're moaning we can't get a bite, I'll remember sessions like this very, very fondly. Look at him. Look at his scales in the sun. Oh man, he wants to go. He keeps tensing up, and I've moved the mat, so look, there could be a bit of a juggle of that going on here. Let's hope we get a few more of them big uns. It's evening time, the sun's going down, and that's when they came on the munch last night, so maybe it's my go for the big uns again. But look at him. What a fish, and what a lake. We're absolutely blown away by the standard and just the scale patterns and the variety of the fish. Just a perfect lake, absolutely perfect.
Right then, the last bit of Marv cam for now. Probably the sweatiest a man's ever been on camera, to be fair. I've just packed all luggage away, it's absolutely boiling hot. We've packed away 2 days early because the fish are spawning. But just to finish it off, I had 9 bites, landed 7, biggest 34 that were younger. It weren't me at all. That should have been my fish. It should have been my fish. Remember that younger? It was actually 32.8 mine, but it was much prettier. So younger can have that scabby comment from over there. Cheers.
So a somewhat early finish to the planned stay here at Bluebell. This started to happen and the fish started to spawn. Whilst we've caught loads of fish near the reeds, it's just a magnet for them to start spawning, and they are going at it like you wouldn't believe at the minute. So we did the ethical thing yesterday, we reeled in, let them get on with it, we regrouped, we had a bit of a social last night, but man, we have absolutely smashed it. But considering we've only had 2 full days fishing, we have had in excess of 100 bites, which is absolutely phenomenal really, considering, you know, there's a lot of fish in here and we've caught some mint fish. But along the lines, I hope you've picked up some valuable tips on day ticket fishing. So the whys, the wheres, the do's, the don'ts, the bait application, the style of fishing, a few tips on rigs. You've picked up some valuable information on some of the new kit for 2017 for Shimano, but it doesn't end here. We're now going to pack away, chuck the gear in the vans, and we're off to another commercial fishery across the water in France. It's a totally different prospect to this one. It's not an easy venue, it's called the Zoo. It's a commercial lake, what you can all book and all go and type and try your fishing on there, and there's fish well over 70 pounds. So it's going to be a completely different style to here on Mallard. So stay tuned and we will see you in part 2. Welcome to part 2, but more importantly, welcome to the Zoo Fishery here near Le Mans in France. Now this lake is a 45-acre lake. It's a really, really rich gravel pit, and it's a very natural gravel pit. So in our terms, it's a proper angler's lake. It's 45 acres, like I say, there's 500 fish, and they go all the way up to just under 80 pounds. But they don't give themselves up very easily, so we're very much relishing the challenge ahead. So we're going to talk you through a load of different tactics. There's loads and loads of features. There's islands, there's intricate little bays, there's gravel bars, there's plateaus. Everything you could imagine is here in this lake. So we're all buzzing, all the lads are getting set up all around the lake. It's quite warm already. So without further ado, let's cut the chat and get on with the DVD.
I can't quite believe what's happened, to be honest with you. I picked a fish out in the cabin yesterday. It's the first night we've been fishing. I had a grass carp yesterday, 35 pounds within an hour and a half. In the early hours this morning I've had a catfish, and then the fish I picked out yesterday has decided to come out and play, and I've had this beauty, 59.12. What a fish. Look at that.
I'm just going to talk you through some of the changes I've made from the Bluebell trip. If I'm totally honest, I'm totally out of my depth. I don't do European fishing. I've only ever been on one trip, and that was Laquis last year. So I've had to get quite a lot of help from Mike and Simon. They've done quite a few European trips. And one of the things Mike said was take some heavy leads. So I listened to him and fetched some nice 5-ounce flat pairs. The reason I've done this is I'm using the boat, which is new to me as well. I've been going, I tell you one thing what I have noticed with the boat though, it's so good that you can use the prodding stick. It really opens your eyes when you're going out there. The difference is amazing. You know, it can be 6 inches and you're on concrete gravel, and next you're in 4 foot of silt, and you would never know that if you were casting from the bank. You'd just think, oh, I'm fishing gravel or I'm fishing silt, but it literally can be that change, 6 inches from solid to soft. So I've really found that interesting, and going on to the spots, that is exactly where I'm fishing. I'm just fishing on that seam because I just presume that everybody be fishing the really hard gravel spots. So I'm just putting it just on the outskirts, just a light scattering of bait, fishing snowman rigs, really simple, coated braid, leaving the coating on until I get to the hair, so I've got a nice supple hair, complex T bottom bait, nothing jazzy, a big strong sharp hook. I think that's all what's needed. The other thing I have done today is I had a quick look across the lake. Everybody was still fishing, and if I'm totally honest, it is really hot, and I just thought I've got to get out of the sun. So I reeled in, went for a quick walk around the lake, had a shower, freshened up a little bit, had a drink. I even managed to see Dagnall catch a monster and netted it, so that gave me a bit of inspiration tonight. So feeling super confident. I think my target is to catch a fish similar to Mr. Dagnall had last night, so let's see how it goes. An absolute stunning mirror, a real peach of a fish at 22.2 I think it was. Real stunner though. I'm absolutely over the moon with that. It's very similar to the fish we're catching in Bluebell, but absolute perler.
Not even 24 hours in now, fish number 6, 49-pound hybrid muncher. Not your typical French fish this, a nice scaly one. Look at that for a stunner. Let's pop her back, see if I can get number 7.
Oh, what a relief. First one and always the hardest. I've pickled my own head a bit, to be honest, because there's so many spots out there that I'm finding with the boat that the echo is alive when I'm getting out there. So I've dropped this one just short of the top of the big plateau in about 6 foot of water. And it took about 5 minutes to go. I'm getting some strange occurrences with liners that I think they're just running across the top of the onion weed and picking the line up under the pecs when I put them up on the shelf in sort of 3 foot of water. So I've dropped it down into 6 foot and it's gone literally straight away. And he's just over 34 pounds, but he's an absolute cracker. And this lake is just amazing. I absolutely love it. You go out in the boat and everything is so clear on the echo, and that you could fish 12 rods out of this swim. So picking the right spot that's going to do a bite seems pretty important. So they're eating the bait. I'm not fishing stacks and stacks of bait, I'm just fishing for a bite at the moment so I can get a couple of spots rocking. So a few spots of maize and a bit of hemp and probably about 1 kilo of complex tea. So they're eating what I'm putting out there. But we're off the mark, which is the main thing. So we'll get him back, wait for the midday sun of about 100 degrees again today, and hopefully go and catch some of them bigger whackers that are in here. But yeah, absolutely made up with this. First one is always the hardest, and it has been a struggle. So to get off the mark on day 2 will do me just fine. So let's get him back and chase them 60-pounders, eh? may we introduce to you something very, very special from Shimano for 2017, and it is the Power Aero XTB in black and XSB in silver. Now, this reel is going to supersede the old Power Aero model, and I'm sitting here with my old buddy, Mr. Smith, and it seems quite apt that he should open the technical information on this reel because it was his all-time favourite reel. So, Mr. Smith, you crack on first.
Right, well, I'll start off with the body first, and it's fair to say, as you just said, that it was my favourite reel all time, but this new reel is anything other than the same reel with a bit of a paint job. This brought the latest in technology that we've developed at Shimano into a whole new, brand new reel. So, first of all, let's talk about the body. It's a Hagane body and it houses Hagane gearing. Now that is coal forged metals which have been put together, and to cut a long story short, it's meant to last the test of time. It really is top quality gearing and top quality metals which go into this reel. Now, in addition to the Hagane, we have got X-Protect. Now, X-Protect is a process where it stops any water ingress or any environmental properties getting into the internal components of there. So it, again, will help the reel last an awful long time. This is really a reel which is for, I'm not going to say the hardcore carp angler, but it's a reel which is being meant to use and meant to last a long time, exactly as my previous Power Aeros did. While we're talking about the body, though, let's talk about the actual positioning of the body. We've developed a few reels now which have been so popular with the parallel body. So instead of having the body which has a slight upturn which points towards the blank, we've gone with the parallel body which helps in long range casting. Mike has seen enormous gains on his casting already by just altering the position of the body. So that's the body positioning of the components it's made of, as well as the X-Protect. Again, it really has moved the reel on forward technologically wise and in performance wise. So what have you got?
Well, I'm going to take the front of the reel, and despite the colour difference obviously between the two models, the main focus on this at the front of the reel is the high speed drag. So we're going to lock that up totally solid, as you can see. Now, just over half a turn, and that's absolutely flying around. So that's more than enough for any fish to take line. So I would say perhaps 6 to 8 clicks of the front drag, and you're from fully locked to the fish comfortably able to take line. It's a facility that a lot of people have asked for, and it's obviously we've responded to public demand and we've put it on this high-end reel. So if we move down slightly, we've got an oversized spool, which again will aid for the casting, super slow oscillation, and basically super slow oscillation means that the slower the line goes onto the spool, the slower it will come off. It stops the line bedding in, so again for the big casters it's going to fly off that reel with no trouble whatsoever. So as we move slightly down the oversized spool, there's a new design line guard. It sits totally different on the rotor, so there's an elongated section underneath the spool, and there's a sort of another elongated section of the actual line guard itself. So it's going to totally eliminate any line going behind the spool, which it's not really been an issue on any of the other reels, but we just want to make doubly sure on this model that it will never happen. So that's an overview of all the new selling points of this reel that make it different from the older Power Aero model. It is a thing of beauty. It's an absolutely beautiful reel. It's so silky smooth to use. Both models, me and Ian, will be more than happy to use, and look out for this very soon in the autumn for 2017.
If there was ever a swim which was made for me, this is it. This is swim 4 at the zoo, and it is proper snag fishing. It is the best snag fishing swim I've ever fished on any lake. There's just so many options. You need 100 rods in here. I've had a few already. 2 nights ago, our first night on here, and I've just had this one. This is my first day bite, and this is, if it allows you to pick it up, a beautiful 27-pound mirror carp from the zoo. That's my biggest yet so far, nowhere near as big as some of the others that have been caught, but what a beautiful fish and a great way to start the day. So I'll get him back and I'll see if we can catch a few more, eh? Thank you, mate.
Right, here we are, peg number 10 at the zoo. As you can see, there's a lot to aim for out there. There's loads of places I could put rods, I could put a little bit of bait in. Unfortunately, as most places in France, you're allowed to use 3 rods. So I've got to pick 3 areas, probably 4. I'll bait up a spare area and keep an eye on it just in case. So what I've done, I've been out in the boat. I've been over to that bank over there. There's a canopy just touching the water. That canopy is about 12 foot from the bank, about 6 foot from the bank. There's a nice gravelly area which is nice and hard.
So I'm going to put a bait over on that one and put a few free offerings around it. The second spot I'm choosing is halfway up this island here. There's some roots going into the water. They do go in quite far, about a rod length off. Again, it's about 6-7 feet deep. It's nice and hard there, so I'm going to put a bait on that one and see what happens. I also want to fish an open water swim. The fish don't always come from around the islands. So at about 19 rod wraps out, I found a weed bed. It's only about 18 inches deep, the weed at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fish just past that weed bed, and put my line down in the weed bed, fish just past it and put a bit of bait round it. I'm also interested in this little corner down here to my left. I've seen a couple of fish bubbling down there. It is quite close in. It's only about 12 rod wraps out, and I'm going to have to be really quiet to fish that. But I'll put some bait down there, keep an eye on it and see what happens. And then of course this island here, I'd love to fish that island. I've seen some fish on the edge of that island. The biggest problem is that's allocated to another peg, and there's someone fishing that peg, so I'm not able to do that. But we'll see. We'll get everything together, get the baits out, and then we'll see how long it takes to catch some fish. Another nice fish from the zoo, beautiful fully scaled fish. This one came off a spot which I've not been fishing for 2 days. I have been baiting it since I got here, just little trickles of bait. Seen some fish moving around there last night, so decided to put a rig on it, and this is what happened this morning. So I'm going to get the bait back out there and then see if we can get another few fish.
Carp fishing to me is the anticipation. It's the sorting my gear out. It's the going to the lake, doing the little baiting up trips. It's the talking to the customers that come into the shop. It's getting really excited the night before, making sure you've got everything sorted. The final checks, the rig checks, are the hooks sharp? Is the bait prepped? Have you got your tea bags? Have you got everything ready? That's carp fishing to me. And then it's driving to the lake after work, finishing at 5:30, getting stuck in traffic, itching to get there. It's pulling up at the gate, the rattle of the chain, it's taking the padlock off. Do you know what I mean? It's that what gets me. And then as soon as I'm setting up, the finding the spots, and then the last thing before night, that is absolutely the ultimate anticipation. You sat there, your rigs are out, you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden it absolutely melts away. That's what it's all about. That's what you've done it for, that's what you've put all the effort in for. It's just that anticipation. Right then, so I've got my own personal Captain Pugwash, Mr. Bates, driving the boat. I'm absolutely useless at driving it. I just keep going in circles and circles and circles. So by the end of the week I've probably mastered it. We're just going to go and stick a bit of bait out. I've had the rods out all day, so I'm going to sprinkle bait on the spots where I had the fish from, and another spot where I had the bite from. And then we're going to go for some tea, get the rods out, and hopefully later on we'll have a fish to show you. You joined me on Monday morning, the second fish of the trip, and if I'm totally honest, it's the biggest fish I've ever caught anywhere. 36.6, so it's a new personal best. I'm absolutely over the moon, a little bit out of breath as you can probably tell. Had it first light, just on the gravel shelf over there. Absolutely buzzing. Still got 5 nights to go. Let's see if we can catch a bigger one.
Monday morning, beautiful. The first carp of the session so far, after having a couple of cats, fishing over about 60, 70 yards in open water, on top of a gravel bar that was about 3 foot deep from the surface. Got a take this morning just before light. Give me a good scrap, a lot of grating over the bar. It nearly got over the back, managed to keep it up, dropped the lead. Good mate Marv next to me netted it for me, thank God for that. I was fishing on the island originally, but I kept getting pestered by cats. I had about 3 of them now. So I came off the island, fished in open water, and I've managed to catch my first carp. The plan now is get all the rods in open water, back on that bar, try and get a few more carp. What I have done is I've stripped some of my line back because it was slightly frayed, the old tribal carp, but it did take a beating over that gravel, but it done the job and it held out beautiful. So I'm going to get this little girl back at 34 and try and catch another one.
The bites just keep coming. Here's another Zeus stunner. The fish in here don't half hang on. They fight scrap like mad.
Well, we've had a little break in the action. No break in the heat, it's still absolutely sweltering here at the zoo. So I've come to Peg 10 to see my old mate Dave Fuage, who is using a complete new setup for Shimano for 2017. And that being the 12-foot 3-pound TX Ultra and the 14,000 CI4 Ultegra XTC. So, Fudgy, first impressions.
Well, first impressions, mate, is this lovely reel. It's a bit lighter than the old one, which I've been used to using. It's got a high-speed drag on it, which to me is immense.
So what does high-speed drag entail, Dave? What does that mean?
Well, from fully tight to actually the fish being able to take line is less than a quarter of a turn. So I've got quite a loose spool over that after a quarter of a turn. So to me,
loads of control there.
Yeah, massive control. And to me, it works at one click at a time. If I'm playing fish, I can play a fish one click at a time, and one click will let out line or tighten line. And to me, it works really well.
And you are the perfectionist.
Well, I don't know about that, but
you are, very much so.
But couple of
so
other
what else?
features.
Can we look up a features that are new on it?
A couple of other features is it's got a new line guard on this reel, which is good. It stops the line from going down. Didn't used to get much problem on the old CI4, but every now and again you did, and I've not had one issue with it on this.
I've noticed that it's a completely new sort of radical design. I think it looks really nice. I think it looks better, but it's obviously going to perform better because it seems to come lower down the shaft, doesn't it? So it's going to stop that line going behind the spool.
It looks a lot better as well, and of course it's the CI4 body as well. Which is
so again what does that entail?
Yeah, well, we've got it's a material which they're using which is very light. It's much lighter than your standard material, which makes for a really good setup. I mean, you can use
balanced.
The rod. Well balanced. You can use it all day long. So, you know.
And oscillation?
It's a slow oscillation on this one.
So again, because some people get a bit confused why that would help them. So what would oscillation help for the average angler that's going to look at these reels?
For me, it gives you better line lay on the spool, which means it gives you better castability. The line comes off the spool nicely. I can cast much further with this reel than what I could with the old CI4 because of the slow oscillation on it.
Right, that's a good.
And because of the line lay.
So. Another couple of little cosmetics I've noticed is It's a very carpy colour, isn't it? It's matte black. It's got the matte black bail arm. It's even got the matte black handle, so it kind of looks the part, doesn't it?
Yeah,
as well?
it does. Yeah, yeah. Everybody loves.
I like them because they're very, very classy,
yeah.
Whilst being very carpy.
Yeah. Well, you would, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. They've got to look right, Dave. If you're blanking, you've got to look right. You know?
Yeah, no, that's it. No,
right. So let's move on to the rod, because this is a complete new design for Shimano, isn't it?
If we start with the reel seat on this rod, this is a CI4 reel seat. It's a little bit radical, a little bit different to normal.
Again, I like it. I think it's a bit out there, but I think it's really attractive.
I actually like it. I find it actually ergonomically good because it fits my hand.
I was just going to say,
nice.
Is it comfortable because you're using them? Is it comfortable to use?
Very, very comfortable to use.
Right,
Really nice. It's got a little break in it here, which I find really good for fishing up against snags. Your butt rest and go in there. You cannot, you can't pull the rod off, and I find that really good. Now the blank itself, it's a super, super slim blank. I've used carp rods for a long, long time. I've used many different carp rods, and this is without doubt the thinnest blank I've ever used.
They are very slim, aren't they? In this 12 foot 3 pound, they're very, very slim.
The power which you get from this, so the butt section is really, really strong on this. The power which I'm getting for casting is absolutely superb.
I suppose what it can do, it can blow the myth that if you buy a balanced setup like a 12 foot 3 pound TX Ultra and the Ultegra, you can still cast a long way with it.
Yeah.
What can you do with this?
Comfortably on this with a baited rig, 120, 130 yards. That's a long, long way.
It's a long way.
You know, that's a long way. But not only that, the tip's nice and soft. It's easy to cast. It's not like a broomstick, but it's fantastic for playing fish on. You know.
So all in all, completely well balanced. You're happy with the new setup?
Absolutely over the moon.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, there you go. Straight from the horse's mouth. Dave has been carp fishing longer than I'm actually old, so he's been carp fishing a very long time, and I trust his view and his word implicitly. So that's the new TX Ultra 12 foot 3 pound, along with the new CI4 Ultegra for Shimano for 2017. You've noticed there's a marked difference in not only this boat that's in situ here at the zoo, but in the kit that I'm using. And there's obviously a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, it's a complete different contrast to Bluebell. So I've got the TX5 intensities, which is a 3 to 5 ounce weight rating. I've got the XTD, the Ultegra. Now, the reason for that is not because I'm going to be sort of savagely casting a long way. What the difference is I'm using really heavy leads because I'm doing everything from the boat. So I'm using 6.5 ounce leads. Reason being, the rigs are the same. I'm not going to bore you with the rig because the rig is exactly the same as Bluebell. It's just a simple QC that I've got confidence in. But so I want that 6.5 ounce lead to really drive the hook home. So the obvious reason for the heavier rod is because a 2 3/4 pound test curve won't give me the ability to donk on those harder spots with a 6.5 ounce lead. It'll just buckle the rod over. It's way too powerful. And the reason for the reels, they've got heavier lines, so obviously I'm using 15 pound black technium, but I just want to give it that balanced feeling so that it's not unbalanced with putting a bait runner on an out and out casting rod. So that's the reason for the setup. And obviously with the intensity, they're not so savage that when I get a bite that I'm going to pull hooks, because the tips are lovely and soft. So should I get a bite, then the tip is going to completely absorb all the lunges of the fish. So primarily, I'm going to do everything from a boat. I love this style of fishing. It's something I got really confident in probably 5-6 years ago. Before that, I was absolutely petrified of boats. Wouldn't go in one, but like everything else, practice makes perfect. Now what this does, it opens up a whole new world of features and where you can place rigs. And certainly when you include an echo sounder, which is what I always take, it just opens up a whole new world. The lake bed, you can see every inch, you can see the ups, the downs, and a couple of the areas I've found, you don't have to be very close out from this swim because there's a big shelf that runs all the way around the swim, and it goes from sort of 3 to 4 foot, and then it drops quite steep down to about 8.5 foot. So the perfect place to ambush these fish is the bottom of that shelf in the deeper water, because I've seen them showing there and it's just a perfect place. I could cast them, but because of the leads, because I really want to specifically use a heavy lead, that wouldn't be an option. I wouldn't even be able to cast a 6.5 ounce lead with an intensity. So I want the use of a boat so I can lower it, and all I do, I'm not specifically looking for the same spot every single time. I just look for the bottom of that shelf, and then I stop the boat, and I just donk with the lead. And I'm quite happy to fish in a bit of soft silt, which is what all 3 rods are in at the minute, or if I can find a harder area, I'm quite happy. There's quite a bit of onion weed out there, but again, with the longer rigs, when you're lowering, you know, you gently lower the lead, you just feel what the bottom's like, so if it's soft or it's rock hard, and then the rig will just fall down and it'll sit on top of the onion weed. The onion weed isn't very thick. It's only probably 3 to 4 inches top, so you can present on top of that with the pop-up. So it's the perfect scenario to use the boat. You know, always wear a life jacket, but it's just, I love it. I absolutely adore fishing from the boat because you know that everything is perfect every single time. And obviously with a bigger lead, nothing's going to move that lead until you actually get a bite. So you know everything is bang on. You can rest easy once you've got the rods out that you know you couldn't have done any better with those rods. Oh, look at him. He should belong in an Oxfordshire state lake, not in the middle of France. But I have worked so hard for this. This is only my 2nd fish, and he's a smidge under 20 pounds, but look at him. Proper scaly, lovely little zoo mirror. And it's not all about big 50s and 60s for me, it's all about trying to get a bite, because I've been really chasing him around the swim, and I've been pulling the rod short on the shelf where I've been seeing fish, then they'd show out long on the pole. So last night, I kept my left-hand rod just on top of the shelf this time, in 5 foot. 5 foot seems to be the key depth for me. And I put 2 out long at the bottom of the plateau. And then I had 1 bite that cut me off, and then 5 minutes later, I landed this lovely, scaly zoo mirror. So I'm over the moon. It's really boosted my mood this week. The weather's dragged me down a bit, if I'm honest, because it's so warm. But to get one like that has made my week, to be honest. So it's very warm, the water is so hot, so we'll get him back and we'll try and catch one bigger, but it's just nice to get a bite after a few days of struggling and chasing him around the swim. But he is lovely. Real testament to the fishery, this. Great little fish.
There we go, I was about that. £30 and 2 ounces and my reward for last night's effort. And a cracking old character there, isn't it? What a stunning fish. Strange really, you couldn't have more 2 contrasting sessions from here and Bluebell, but we've worked hard and we've still had a few fish, but I think what's best to do is we'll slip him back before the 40-degree heat starts again, and we'll just run through the contrasting of 2 sessions. Thank you, mate, very much. Let's get him back. So after we put that £30 back, is probably no better time as we're coming towards the end of the week at the zoo to reflect on 2 sessions between this and Bluebell, really. And they've both been fantastic sessions, but for very different reasons, and you couldn't get more of a contrast in 2 sessions. Incidentally, both lakes I've never actually seen before, and what you generally do is, well, let's talk about Bluebell first. You try and build up as much information as you can before you go to a location so you can maximise your chances, and I did that, and it was very much of everyone was saying you're spodding at distance, you know, it's a lot of particle, hemp, maize, you know, all that sort of thing, and that's exactly what I went with. And I started off and I had tongue to my left and I had fudgy to my right, and both of them were catching, and I was sitting there for the first 18 hours completely blanking. But then what you have to do is you have to sort of take confidence in your prior results on similar lakes, and I thought, you know what, this is not what I do, and you have to work to your strengths. And I don't spot at range and I don't use a lot of particle. I'm a boilie angler, so that's what I'm going to go back with. So I literally got the stick and just started spraying boilies all the way over the shelf that was actually fishing, and literally within an hour started catching. And I did the first 18 hours blanking, and the second 36 hours I caught 40 fish. So you couldn't really have more of a contrast, and it's absolutely amazing. Them fish didn't turn up, it's just the right tactic on the right day will catch you the fish. So it seemed almost easy when you do get it right, but that's that. So when I came to the zoo, again, you work out a bit of prior knowledge, and you use a lot of particle here. Zoo do their own particle mix, which you can buy on site, of which I have some of, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn from what I had at Bluebell and I'm going to fish to my strengths. I'm snag fishing here, I'm only fishing short distance, exactly what I was doing at Bluebell. So I thought, I've got lots and lots of options. I do enjoy snag fishing, but I do enjoy my boilie fishing as well. So I've just littered the margins with loads and loads of boilie, and I've caught from the off. You couldn't have more of a contrast in results, to be honest with you. I mean, we're 5 days into it now, and I've had 5 bites. but we're fishing in 40-degree heat. You can't ask for much more, really. You know, it's fishing difficult, but I've had a result, and some of the lads have had some amazing results. So the bit of advice I can give to you really is, if you're coming to any venue, whether it's here or in the UK or anywhere around the world, fish to your strengths. It's really important to do that, because if you fish on what you've caught with before and confident with it, you're not going to think after a day or 2 days or 3 days, oh, well, what I'm doing isn't right. These fish, you know, they're the same all over the world. They're only carp. This isn't rocket science, and you can catch them wherever you are on the tactics which you've caught them on before. So enjoy your own fishing, and I've got 2 days left, and I'm hoping for a real whacker.
Right then, time for a bit of mouth cam. It's Wednesday afternoon. We've just got the rods out after tea. It's been a bit of an up and down session for me so far, if I'm honest with you. I've had 3 fish to 36.6, but I've also lost 3. The reasons why, I think it's just the features. There's some bars out there. They're quite savage, do you know what I mean? They've really sharp rocks on them, or mussels. I have been cut off once. I've had a hook pull, and then the other one, I had to go out in the boat in the dark, which is the first time I've ever done that. That was kind of weird. But when I got to, I thought it'd gone around the island. It turns out it hasn't. It had just dumped me in a snag. I had to get right above it, and it just pinged out. So, but yeah, it's been a really good session though. We've some of the other lads, they've done really well. Some lads haven't done as good, but that's just fishing. It's been really strange how we all attack a different fishing situation, and all this boat work and stuff were totally new to me. And then the temperatures that we're fishing in are absolutely ridiculous. I haven't been fishing in the day, if I'm honest. I've been reeling in about, I don't know, 10:30, and then going to the cabin, tying some rigs in there, just trying to make the use of my time a little bit better than sweating it out in the day. And to be fair, it's paid off, because the bites I was getting were like first light or early in the morning, so I'm quite happy with that. I just, if I'm honest, I just want a good one. Even though £36 is a big fish, especially a big fish to me. I've been to France twice now with Shimano, and if I'm totally honest, I would like a good fish. You know, I'm talking 45 plus. That'd be great. And if I get one of them, the Marv cam will be amazing, because I'll be absolutely buzzing. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I should be doing this a little bit more as well, but I just don't really. I'm just getting used to it. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting used to doing this blog thing. It's not. I'm a fisherman, I'm not an actor, do you know what I mean? But I do want people to see what kind of stuff I'm into, so just bear with me. But we'll definitely get into Marv cam. I'll try doing one every day from today, so we've got 3 nights left. Let's see how it goes, so wish me luck.
Fish number 14 at the zoo, and a lovely 48 pounder on the hybrid. I've got two spots that are catching consistently and steadily now, but my third rod I might as well chuck behind me, to be honest. I've not had a wrap on it, so I'm going to sort that out and hopefully get that going as well. Catch a few more stunning fish like this. Slowed up a bit yesterday. I had a few cats moved in, and yeah, after catching a couple of cats, I made up to have this chunk. Look at it, it's like a torpedo. £38 common.
Right guys, it's coming towards the end of the week. Just going to give you a little insight of what I've been doing and how I've been doing it. I've been using the bait bolt for all my fishing this week. When I first got here, I sent the bait bolt out, used the fish finder, used the echo, and I soon discovered that the majority of the water in front of me is gravel bars, hard granite, very, very few soft spots. So most of my fishing was over hard bottom. Throughout the week I've caught a few fish, but 3 or 4 fish up to mid-30s. But what I have been doing is, because I've got the portability of fishing anywhere with a bait boat, whereas if I didn't have a bait boat, I'd have to be spodding and working a spot to get it feeding. The good thing with a bait boat is I can move around in my swim, find a spot that I like, and pretty much instantly bait that spot, whether it be 1 kilo or, well, the bait boat that I'm using in particular takes up to 3-4 kilo. So, you know, some venues, big fish respond to big beds of bait, some venues don't. So what I've been doing is plotting around in my swim throughout the week. Some spots have been putting out a couple of kilos, some have been like filling the hoppers up, and it's been working. I've been having fish pretty much every day, whether it be a carp or a cat. I have been getting takes, so the method I've been using with the bait boat has been working. So if you are coming out to one of these type of venues and you are allowed to use bait boats and you've got a bait boat, I would advise bringing it, because it gives you so many options, different areas to fish in your swim, different distances, feature finding. You can use small amounts of bait, different types of bait, whether it be small particle, just boilie, whatever you want you can put out there. So if you are coming out to one of these type of venues in future and you can bring a bait boat, I would definitely bring one.
After a quiet night on Tuesday night, I was starting to wonder if the fish had all moved out and gone to the other side of the lake. But I decided to sit on my guns and stick it out on the spots. And then first light this morning, this lovely 27-pound mirror. We're in it for the long game.
So there he is. There he is. Go on. First fish of the trip. Always the most important one. Nice to get off the mark. Had a couple of rods up against the far margin yesterday. 2 rods out there, 1 in close in the near margin. Didn't have anything. Had a catfish last night. Had a chat with the owners and the bailiffs and come around and had a look, see where I was fishing. He said I probably want to be a bit tighter up to the margins than I was. So that's exactly what I did. Got one of the boats, one of the little dinghies, rowed out there and tucked all the baits right in up against the margin. Didn't have anything last night. And then this morning, just sitting there in the shade, had a couple of bleeps and the right hand rod pulled round tight. And this fella was on the end. Also brought half a tree in with him, which made things slightly interesting. But yeah, got him in the net. First fish of the trip, really pleased with that to get off the mark. At least I know there's some fish there now. Gonna get a few more. Gonna get a few more bigger ones as well. There's some great fish in here and I'm looking forward to seeing a few of them on the bank. But yeah, really pleased with that. Great start.
Right, we're coming to the end of our week's fishing here at the zoo in France. I've been fishing very, very hard this week. Beginning of the week I started dropping some fish. I was getting the runs. I was really happy with the spots I was fishing and I was getting a few runs. And 20-30 seconds the fish were coming off. I was using the Ronnie rig, come swimming rig, and I couldn't fathom out why I was losing the fish I was. So I changed everything I could. I changed the hook link material, I changed the angle of the shrink tube. I just went through everything and changed it and I was still losing fish and I really couldn't understand why. So I decided to change rigs completely and put on a wafter rig I've been using with great effects over the last couple of years back home and over in France. Now, the great thing about this rig to me is when the fish picks the bait up, if it does spit it out or something moves the bait, it always rights itself all the time. So I know that I've always got a fishing rig. Now I've been using this rig now for a couple of days. That's the rig which I've been using and I've managed to land 5 fish. What difference it actually makes, I really, really haven't put my finger on it yet. But I've got a couple more days, so I'm going to try and fathom it out and see if we can get some more fish on this rig.
There you go, proofs in the pudding. Found a spot earlier, a few fish bubbling on it, so I put a rod to it. I did manage another one, but I lost that. Fish not very big, but at least they're out there. So let's get the rod back out and then see if we can get another one. Bigger sister, hopefully.
Right, so Si's got all the mouth cam. As you can see, he's panning, and he's been panning all morning, and it's done my absolute head in. It is, what are we on, Si, Thursday?
Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday. Quite quiet again last night. I managed a 27-pound mirror. I think Mike Dagnall had another mirror, possibly. Did he have a mirror or a common?
Mirror?
Yeah, and then Nick has just been catching grasses for fun. I mean, seriously, I had like 5 in, I don't know, 3 hours. But yeah, a couple of nights left. I've just given him a load of bait back on spots. I don't know if you saw, well, you probably will have. We did a bit of live question and answer with Tong, which were interesting. Got quite a few views and comments and stuff, so that might be something that you can catch on Tribal page a little bit more. But yeah, going to chill out, have a couple of sneaky beers and just relax. Get my Aussie spray put on by Si. Standard 2 to 3 issue, innit, Si?
Yep.
That's it.
Sat here now with Mike Dagnall, and we're going to introduce you to the TX Ultra, which is a completely new rod from Shimano for 2017. Now, before we get into Mike's input into this rod and how he has designed it over a few years and lots of samples, the first and most amazing piece of technology about this rod is Spiral X. Now, what Spiral X is it's a graphite cross weave of infinity tape. The graphite weave of the Spiral X is the way that Shimano exclusively lay the infinity tape onto the mandrel during the process of manufacturing, which is totally exclusive to Shimano. And what that does in layman's terms is it gives the rod a superior power, superior lightness, and just superior accuracy to anything else that is out there on the market at the moment. So we're going to go through a few more technical bits, but first we want to talk to the main man who's practically, you have designed this rod, haven't you, from scratch? So it's your baby, isn't it, the Ultra?
Yeah. And I believe this is the perfect long-range fishing rod. There's a lot of rods about. Yeah, they'll chuck the distance and that, but for playing fish, it's just, they're too stiff. They're just not quite right. But because of the Spiral X technology, you've got the weight of the blanks been reduced so much, it's unbelievable, really. And what it does, it doesn't compress like a normal blank will. Most rods, when they cast, they twist when they're recovering because they're crushing, basically, when they're compressed. When it recovers, it's twisting and that it's going offline, it's not as accurate. These, when it casts, it recovers in a straight line. So the accuracy is, well, it's pinpoint accuracy.
And that's down to the Spiral X, and that's the way that the carbon is put on. That completely eliminates any ovalization whatsoever, doesn't it, on the cast, which gives you that fast recovery speed, the accuracy. And I think accuracy is often overlooked in the design of a rod, isn't it, with dropping rigs into little clear spots. And a lot of this technology has come from the spinning and the predator market, hasn't it? Well, you know, the lure guys are the flicking little jigs under bushes, and everything's got to be so responsive.
Knucky holes and that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the more accurate you can fish at long range, the more you're going to catch.
Yeah, because I think it's worth saying that a lot of people think that they are fishing at a certain spot, and you've opened my eyes up over the years to wind and bows in line and how you adjust all that, and this rod is just going to make a massive difference to your fishing at range, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I mean, it is a proper fishing rod. I mean, I've cast 234 yards with it, so it is a proper casting tool, but it is a fishing rod. It's not an out-and-out tournament stiff poker.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been fishing 200 yards where I am up against snags.
194 actually, I think you told me.
Well, the right-hand rod's 200. And when I've hooked them, I've never felt once that they're going to get in the snags.
So they're so responsive.
But they're the same rod under the rod tip as what they are out there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of rods, when they come under the rod tip, you're a bit, oh God, start
The
easing off on the
broomsticks,
drag
aren't
and
they?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might as well use a spod rod.
Yes.
But these they're a proper fishing rod. Well, I think they're the perfect rod. We had 12 samples, I think this is.
No, you had 12 samples.
Well, yeah.
Don't expect me to cast
I had
234 yards with it, Mike.
And so, some of them, yeah, they cast well, but when you're playing fish on them, they weren't quite right.
Yeah.
Some of them were a bit too stiff, others were a little bit soft, say the wind was coming in your face, that you couldn't punch it out there and that, but...
And I think because of the exclusive technology to Shimano for the Spiral X, I think it was so important to get this rod to exactly how you want it.
Yeah,
it's got to be right, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be right, yeah. And I believe that's what we've done. I mean, and the accuracy of them, it's unbelievable.
And that's because of the technology and the manufacturing process that Shimano have put into designing this blank.
Yeah, it's the recovery, and it doesn't crush like other blanks do. When you get compression in a rod, it squashes. It's virtually eliminated with this.
Yes, and that's because of the infinity tape and the way it's laid onto the mandrels or in the manufacturing process.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about the manufacturing process. Now, cosmetically, because again, this is all your choice, isn't it? This is all exclusive to your design.
Yeah, it is.
So the pressure's on.
Yeah.
But well, it is a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I do like the duple handles. I always have. I think they're so comfortable. I don't like the really thin handles for casting. It doesn't give you any control over the rod. Do you get what I mean?
You said that to me before, haven't you?
Yeah.
You need something
if it's
to grip
too thin,
onto.
you can't grip it properly.
Yeah.
And we've got the new CI4 reel seat, which that just blends into your hand.
Fits
it's
really
like
nice.
a glove.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
And then we've matted the blank off. And on this model, we've got the 50mm Keegan rings, which they're a third of the weight of competitors' other rings, so that aids recovery even more. And
which again will aid accuracy, I guess.
Everything
is aimed at being
every little bit adds up.
Yes, yes. It's all the little percentages that go to make a 100% finished product, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, you can see for yourself, I think they're the perfect long-range rod.
Yeah, like you say, it's a long-range fishing rod, isn't it? It's not a broomstick, it's a perfect all-round long-range fishing rod, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, there you have it, straight from the Shimano expert himself. He's put these a monumental distance in testing, and it's taken some testing to get this product exactly how we want it. So, to get your hands on them, to try them, to have a look at them, get involved with the Shimano Casting Academy for 2017, and you can see the Ultra in the flesh for yourself.
This is the first fish of the brace, 30.5 mirror. Just goes to show with the TX Ultra rods, fishing accurately at range, it's effortless. This is the second one, stunning looking common. Fought like a demon, this one. Look at that.
You ask me why I go carp fishing. Are you for real? Have you never sat on a flat, calm lake in the morning waiting for the sun to rise, and all you can hear is the sound of silence, and all of a sudden a big fish leaps out the water, sending ripples all over the lake? The excitement and the noise of that is unreal. Have you never sat on your bed chair and your alarms have been screaming off, and in one foul movement you're off your bed chair, out your bivvy, and bent into a fish that's doing its best to get you into its watery home, kiting left, kiting right, diving down to the depths? Then you get it to the surface, takes its first gulp of air, you pull it over the landing net, its lips almost touching the spreader block, but its tail not quite going in over the cord. You look down at your prize, and this time you've actually won the battle, and the excitement is absolutely unreal. Have you never sat on a lake as the sun's going down and seen the colours, the oranges, the reds, the bluey greys, and then darkness? And you ask me why I go carp fishing. The question should be, is why don't you go carp fishing?
Well, here we go. This one's £54. It's testament to the rig change I spoke about earlier. absolutely nailed, gave me a cracking fight, went through a weed bed, but I won this battle. Well confident in the spots now, rigs are working a treat, the baits are going really well, so it's only a matter of time now, I'm sure, before we can get one of the bigger ones.
Well, it seems I've finally mastered the boat work. All the spots seem to be rocking now and producing fish. I had this lovely 34-pound mirror this morning at first light. Well chuffed. What I've been doing though, if I'm honest, is I'm bringing the rods in the day, resting the swim, giving them some bait, and to be honest, it's to get out of the sun as well. And then I'm coming back in the evening after tea, getting the rods back out, and bites are coming first light. Lovely stuff. Let's get her back.
While special occasions require special attention, and there's no more fitting way to end a DVD than with Mr. Fuage and one of the A-team for the zoo. So Dave, what we got?
This is the orangutan. It's one of the Carp Zoo's finest, one of the A-team. It's 62.12.
What a beast. So all that remains to say is a big thank you to Tom and Marine at the zoo. Thanks to Jamie the bailiff, who had a great time. And all in all, a two-part DVD, we've absolutely smashed it. Great team spirit, and big up to all the team at Shimano, and we'll see you next year in 2018. Absolutely phenomenal, really. Phenomenal for which is absolutely phenomenal with.
Well, you're actually looking really young on this.
Had a lovely scaly common. Scaly, later that evening I had a lovely scaly common.
No, still not!
No, hopefully, right. So hopefully a few more to come. And I said hopefully again. Got a little itch in my throat.
First fish of the trip.